Our next speaker is a global gender professor, Fulbright scholar with the U.S. State Department, and a certified professional coach. Please help me welcome to the stage, Dr. Michelle Morkert.
I grew up in a small farm town, surrounded by corn, cows, and conservative churches. I remember driving down Route 47 when I was a little kid, and I'd see, corn, cows, and conservative churches. When I was 2, my father died unexpectedly, so I was raised by a single mom, and that wasn't really the typical family structure that I saw around me. What I saw were men doing certain jobs and women doing certain jobs. I'd see the men digging holes for fences, volunteering to shovel people's driveways and sidewalks, edging sidewalks, working with the corn and the cows and the conservative churches. And I'd see women, taking care of the kids, carpooling, making food for the potluck, creating cookbooks for the conservative churches, right? But those identities, they didn't really fit me. I wasn't an either or, I was more of like in a both and kind of situation. That was my lived reality. By my mid-20s, I was married, I had one child, I had another one on the way, and I was working at a domestic violence shelter as a women's advocate. That meant that I was an educator and a counselor. And I would usually work the evening and weekend shifts. And what this meant was that, we were sort of short-staffed on the weekends, and we had a lot less security. So I want to tell you, though, something unique about this shelter. When I first started working there, we were in a confidential location, which meant that it was a house in a neighborhood, and you could drive by or walk down the sidewalk, and you wouldn't know that it was actually a safe house filled with women and children. But shortly after I was hired, we got some grant, we got some funding, and somebody thought it was a really good idea to move this confidential, safe house into a very public, beautiful, historic mansion in the middle of town. And have, gatherings and open houses too, so everybody knew exactly where it was. So what this meant was when I would work on a Saturday morning, people knew where we were. So one weekend, and I remember it so clearly, and it was really impactful in my life, this moment, I was sitting at the front desk in the lobby. Oh, and I didn't mention, in this beautiful, historic, public building, the whole front wall was glass windows. Glass windows everywhere. So while I was sitting behind the front desk, I looked, and out the corner of my eye, I saw somebody walking up the sidewalk. I thought, we're not expecting anybody. It's not a client. It's not security. So I called Carmen. I said, Carmen, we've got somebody coming. I need to go out and do the thing we usually do. So we had a protocol for situations like this. So I'd walk out from behind my desk and open a glass door. Now, let me tell you, in addition to the glass windows, the doors were glass too. And there was a set of double doors, okay? So whenever I walked out, I'd lock the one behind me for security. So I walked out that first door, clunk, locked it. So basically, I'm now standing in kind of a glass cage. And I can see this person getting closer and closer. So I take one more step out, lock the door, my phone's in my back pocket in case I need to contact Carmen. And this man's standing right in front of me, and he says, I'm here to see my wife or girlfriend and my kids. I said, I can't confirm or deny that they're here, and you need to leave the premises right away or I'm gonna have to call the police. And he just kind of looked at me. I was kind of confused. And he said it again. He's like, I'm just here to see my wife and my kids, and I need to see them. You would never really know what to expect in these situations. So once again, I said, I can't confirm or deny that they're here, and you're gonna have to leave the property immediately or I'm gonna have to call the police. And And I could just see this confusion crossing his eyes. It was like he wasn't going to get his way. And you know what? I remember in that moment too, I was thinking, I wasn't just speaking for the woman and kids he was looking for. I wasn't just speaking for the women in my care, but I was kind of speaking to something a little bit bigger, a little bit more broad that had to do with gender. Because you see, what this guy had learned in his life about gender, about masculinity, it really hurt him. And it hurt a lot of other people too. So 10 years later, I've gotten a PhD in women's and gender studies, and yes, that field exists. I have the diploma to prove it on my office wall. I'm a Fulbright scholar. I've got 3 kids now. I'm a full tenure faculty member. I'm living my dream, right? Everything that my heart had always wanted to do, I was doing. I'd already done by my mid-30s. And yet, I didn't feel that great about myself. In fact, despite my track record of success, I was second-guessing myself. I had a lot of doubt. Sometimes my inner critic got really loud. It would not stop. And it would say, "Are you sure you're qualified to teach that class? Are you sure you actually earned that diploma? I mean, did they really mean to hire you when they hired this person? Did you sneak in the back door?" I was a mess. And I don't think anybody else really knew it. So that week, I was talking with my friend Kate. And I said, "Kate, this is what's going on." And she said, "I know exactly what you need to do." I'm like, "Okay, tell me." Because she always knew what I needed to do. And she said, "You need to hire a coach." I said, "I don't really have time for that, and plus I don't know what it is." And she said, "No, really, okay, so you hire this coach," and she's like, "A therapist, but not a therapist." And she's like, "Your friend, but not your friend." And she's all of those things put together, but none of those things, just trust me, just hire her. So I said, "All right, I'll give it a try," because at this point I needed something different, right? I needed a change. So I hired this coach, and about 6 weeks later, I could feel some changes in my life. But here's the thing. I wasn't the only woman who was feeling this way. And we weren't really having conversations about gender, which had been so central to my life in understanding who I was and my lived experience. So, enter the pandemic in 2020. And by this time, I had become a certified professional coach. And I'm no longer teaching at my university. And here I am, ready to launch my business as a feminist coach. And so I help high-achieving women disrupt the limitations of the patriarchy that live in them, that say, go here, don't do that, do this, smile, be quiet. And I help those women kind of quiet that inner critic that gets really loud and on a loop and says you really aren't qualified despite your track record of success. And I help them build their confidence because they want to make an impact in the world. So I'm happy to share a bit of my talk called The 3 Secrets of Glass-Shattering Women. And I'm happy to talk to all you glass-shattering women out here today, and I've got some questions for you. Do you ever feel like it's an uphill battle and you're fighting when you don't need to be or you shouldn't be? Do you feel like you have to be perfect to make some progress? And isn't it exhausting? I've been there. I get it. And so I want to offer a principle that I talk with my own private one-on-one coaching clients about. And it gives them a little break. It gives them a little relief from the stress cycle that they experience. And before I do, there's a lot of conversation out there about gender, and it's messy. So I want to just lay the foundation for what I know from my own lived experience and academic experience, and that is that it all starts at birth. We get a birth certificate and a box is checked, male or female, maybe there's another one. That's where it starts. And the rest of our lives, we learn how to meet the expectations of those boxes. That's gender. It's what we wear, it's how we act, it's all these choices that we make. And it doesn't operate all on its own. It's within a system that we call the patriarchy. And it impacts every single human on the face of this planet. So, glass-shattering women, let me tell you, we break a lot of those gender rules to shatter those glass ceilings. So it's not a surprise that those limiting beliefs, that inner critic, starts to ramp up. So I'm going to leave you with the question that I think can really offer some relief. What if it's not a problem? What if it's actually a sign that you're making progress? What if it's a sign that you're creating your own revolution? Thank you.